Hello everyone and welcome to our new live webcast, Serving Up Features on Demand for Every Appetite. Thank you for joining this new masterclass. With each episode, we provide new highlights, technical tips, and success stories that will leave you inspired and ready to get your protection, licensing, and security techniques another step closer to perfection. At WIBU-SYSTEMS, we empower software publishers and intelligent device manufacturers with cutting-edge technologies, new business models, and tailor-made consulting training. Let us help you upgrade, optimize, and automate your entire license lifecycle management so you can focus on monetizing your business at a higher level. My name is Daniela Previtali, Global Marketing Director of WIBU-SYSTEMS, and I'm delighted to have you here with us today. We are joined by Rüdiger Kügler, VP Sales and Security Expert, and Stefan Bamberg, Senior Key Account and Partner Manager, both from the headquarters of WIBU-SYSTEMS. The salami technique applied to software business management. Over the revolution, many software products tend to get bigger and bigger as the developers try to fulfill new user expectations or add new technology capabilities. With features on demand, users are not forced to buy or pay for the entire package, but only for the features they want. A win-win strategy where the seller gets their software to the user at a lower entry price and the users can spend more for the add-on features. Some housekeeping we need to take care of before we start. For everyone who's joining us today, I want to remind you that we will be reserving some time at the end of the session for Q&A, and I'd like to invite you to submit any question you have in the live chat box. This session is being recorded, and a link to the replay will be posted directly to you in the next couple of days. And don't forget, stay with us throughout the live session for your chance to win 4 hours of free CodeMeter consultation from the most brilliant minds at our company. At the end of the webinar, a new tab in your browser with 3 simple quiz questions will show up. You should submit one or multiple choices for each multiple answer question. We will draw the winner from among those who reply correctly and notify them at the time of the replay announcement. Please also note that the winner is excluded from all subsequent prize draws of 2022. Without further ado, I'll pass things over to Stefan. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Daniela. My name is Stefan Bamberg, and I want to welcome you to our webinar, Features on Demand, Motivation, Integration, and Success. And I also want to welcome my colleague, Rüdiger Kügler, which joins this evening to explain everything to you.
Yeah, hello, my name is Rüdiger Kügler, and when we created this webinar, we have the idea about a webinar about 5-6 weeks ago. We thought, hey, let's make a webinar about features on demand, and why don't we make a webinar on demand? And so the idea is maybe to include you more into this webinar here today. And when we prepared the webinar, we thought about what do we mean with features on demand. We came up with a lot of different meanings that features on demand could have. We selected the one that we find which might be the most popular one, but it would be interesting to find out if you have the same expectations. So I would invite you to type into the chat, so into the question field, what do you mean by features on demand? And it would be great, and so maybe we can check if we explain the right thing or if we should explain even other things, maybe on the fly in this webinar on demand today. And so I would invite you to type into the chat, what do you mean by features on demand? In the meantime, Stefan will tell you what we mean with features on demand.
Yes, so the major idea of features on demand is selling software in different configurations, different modules. So you have a basic application, you have additional functionalities that you want to sell to your customers, and you really sell it like a salami to your customers, the main module, the additional modules, and that's the basic idea of feature on demand. There are some other ideas as well. So some customers use the word feature on demand also for selling temporary licenses when their end user needs for a campaign or for a special treatment of the software, some additional licenses only for a time limited period. And so it's more licenses on demand. and we have the pay-per-use models in mind. That means you really pay for the usage of such functionalities in the moment when you really need it. Another feature on demand model. Why should I use feature on demand? There are several reasons for that. So the low-cost entry offers for new customers is one of the major points of feature on demand. You can sell your basic application for a lower price and add later on some additional modules that the customer buys from you. So the entry level of the invest is much more less than when you sell it compared to when you sell it as a complete application in one modular thing. The next point is you can increase the sales in the after-sales business. So we have a lot of customers that sell devices and software and put the basic functionalities in that software to control such a device. And in the aftermarket process, they sell additional functionalities for that device and for the software. And that leads to the fact that the customers can exactly buy what they really need, and you have an additional revenue with new modules that you create or develop in the future, and you can add that to this application as well. I also mentioned the flexible pricing. You can sell the basic module for a lower price. You can sell the additional modules to a higher price depending on what value such functionalities have for a customer. And that gives you the flexibility to have a special pricing for different modules. And that is also the case when you have new markets and new customers in your view. So we can sell special functionalities for regional markets for a lower price, for a special module that you want to sell that is only feasible in a new market, in a new region. Makes sense to sell such a module only in this region. And for new customers, it could make sense that you have special functionalities that are interesting for such customers, but only limited to such customers. And you can sell additional modules, especially with functionalities that are of interest for such new customers. But let's have a look first how the system works in an overall view. So our slogan is integrate once and deliver many. What does that mean? Our technology, or our CodeMeter technology, consists of two parts. The first part is the protection suite that allows you to protect your intellectual property and software with the cryptographic keys that are included in our license entries. So you have your unencrypted software and you transfer that with the protection suite in an encrypted software, and the customer needs the corresponding keys to be able to decrypt the software on the PC, and that's the reason for the licenses that includes these cryptographic keys. On the other side, if we talk about the monetization part, you have to care about creation, delivering, and activation of such licenses, the delivery of the licenses to the customer. And that's one point that we cover with our License Central that you see here. So the License Central is that tool, the entitlement management system that can be integrated in your back office systems so that you have a direct process from you are getting an order, it is processed in your ERP or CRM system, or you have an e-commerce shop. And the License Central is in charge of creating an activation code, we call that a ticket ID, that is delivered to the customer, and the customer is enabled to activate such licenses, for example, in a dongle, in a software license, or even in a cloud license. And you have to integrate that once in the software and in your back office processes, and afterwards you deliver the same software to all these customers, and according to the licenses that these customers has bought, they can use the software accordingly. So you have the same software for all of them with all the functionalities, and with the licenses, you control which functionalities, which modules they can use. Feature on demand here as well. Let's make a short example of that. So we have these 4 people, they all get the same software. And the lady on the left side, they have a sample notepad. This is our demonstration software that Rüdiger will show you as well afterwards in the live demo. It's a single user license, but this lady wants to use all the other features that we are offering for this sample notepad with a 30 days trial version to evaluate it and hopefully buy it afterwards. The other guy has a sample notepad single user license as well, but he has also the license for the different features that we are offering, the change font module, the hex view module, and the C# highlighting module. These are different modules, additional features that he has bought. So the feature on demand is here. He has all these modules. The lady next to him only is interested in the features HexView and C# highlighting. I'm pretty sure that's a developer lady because she don't want to have the change font module, so she only uses the HexView and the C# highlighting for development purposes. And on the right side, you have the guy that has a sample notepad, but based on a subscription module. That means he pays periodically, per month, per quarter, per year, it depends. And he has all the features that are available for this sample notepad, and we call that a premium edition. So these are the licenses that we have in mind when we are talking about feature on demand. And now let's have a look what Rüdiger's next idea is about feature on demand.
Yes, and then when I take a look at the chat, then I see that our definition or our mean of feature on demand really fits to your mean of feature on demand. So thank you very much for your first feedback. And when you have seen the picture of Stefan, then you saw that you need to define the licenses. You need to integrate this into your software. You need to model the license somehow in License Central. We have the sales process. We have the activation process. So all some simple things which needs to be done, but of course all of them needs to be done one by one. And so the question is, which is the topic that you are mostly interested in here today, so that we can focus on this a little bit more. So which option should we use in CodeMeter, or should we focus on the how to integrate this into your software? Is it more interesting to take a look into License Central, how to create the licenses, or how to define the licenses there, or how to implement the sales process, or last but not least, the activation process? And so feel also free to answer again in the chat about which of these 5 topics should be more covered in detail. We prepared a little bit about all of the 5 topics, and so we will go over all of this, but maybe we can go into more details if you like this. And so it's your turn again. Use the question or the chat option to send us your feedback, which is more interesting for you. Let's start with the first thing, with the product item options. And in this case, we have 4 different options that we can use for the integration. The first one is to have a flat list. So we use a product code, a different product code for every feature or for every module. And then we have a simple flat list that we put into our CodeMeter container. The second option, and I would call this a false friend, is the feature bit. We have an option, a product item option, which we call feature map. And hey, we can use the feature map to implement all the features. Later on in the comparison sheet, we will see that this has some limitations, like only 32 different features. In most projects, this is too less. At least it's not future safe. And we cannot assign different expiration times. So the first use case of the first lady green, I think, not the lady in red, the lady in green, was about I want to have some evaluation licenses for the other features, and with a feature map, this cannot be done. And so there are some limitations why I would definitely not use this. We could put the feature bits into extended protected data or protected data. Some customers came with this IDE. I like this IDE even less than the feature map. We will see in the comparison sheet why. And last but not least, the structured list. Here we have similar like the flat list, an own product code for every feature, but we structure them in some module items so they have some connections between each other. And as promised, there's a comparison sheet between the 4 different options. And from the security point of view, the 2 mainly preferred options, the flat list and the structured item, offers the best security because we have a different product code for every feature, and a different product code means a different key, so more security. With the feature bits in the feature map, we have limited or still a strong security, but we have keys which are derived in the memory from one master key. And with the feature bit 2 option, with the protected data, we have only one master key, and we use the one master key for every encryption, decryption. So still high security. So if we speak about the differences, it's not a difference like, plain and encrypted. It's a difference about encrypted the whole part with one key or encrypted different parts with different keys. From the number of features or number of modules, the feature map is limited to 32. A very important thing is how to update licenses with License Central. And with feature map, this is really complex because you need to do binary mathematics. So the first bit is 1, the second bit is 2, the third bit is 4, the fourth bit is 8, then 16. And if you combine them, you need to say, if you want to combine feature 2 with 3, it is 2 plus 4, meaning 6 and something like this. So it's a little bit complex. With the protected data, there is no mechanism in License Central, so you need to make an individual implementation. And with the other 2, flat list and the structured item, we will see the samples later. And you see there is a big difference, and maybe this is the major reason why to go for 1 or for 4. The grouping and runtime, with the flat list, you have no group information. With all the others, you have it. If you want to borrow licenses, meaning temporarily borrow a license from a network server to a local machine, you can borrow every individual feature with the flat list and enter a license with all the 3 other options. And if you want to set individual expiration time, like for instance for the trial licenses, or individual counters, individual network concurrent users, you can do this with the different product codes, but you're not that flexible with the feature bit options. And that's why I would strongly recommend to use either the flat list or to use the structured list. And later on, we will see which one is the better choice for you. Integration into the software. So let's think about the integration to the software. And also here we have different options. And we identified 5 different options here, not 4, in this case 5. And one option is to use the CodeMeter Core API. This is option A. And this option, the protection level would be low to medium. So because if you do a lot with the API, you can already get a very good, or let's say medium protection level. If you simply check license there, yes, no, the protection level, of course, is only low. If you have a requirement like the software should start without any license, then you can implement this with the core API because there's no need for a license to start. You can simply activate, deactivate some features inside. The effort is medium. You need to get familiar with the API. You need to implement the calls. So yes, and you don't use any additional protection tools from us, so you have no additional costs for the protection tools, so for AX Protector. A second option, option B, is to combine this with our AX Protector IP protection. IP protection means we encrypt your executable. We put the decryption information inside your executable. By the way, it also works with a dynamic link library. And so the software still starts without any license. And the protection level, of course, and this is much higher than the protection level with Core API only. So I would say this is high. The integration effort is the same because you do the same like you do with the Core API, and then you additionally put the shell with the AX Protector IP protection around it. And here you need a basic feature of IP for AX Protector plus IP protection because IP protection is an add-on to the basic feature. A third option is to say, we encrypt the software with the basic feature and we still use the Core API. So instead of using the IP protection feature, we encrypt it with the basic firm code product code combination. This gives an even higher protection level, because now we have a strong connection between the encryption of the software and the license. So without the license, the software no longer starts. But without the software, without the license, the software no longer starts. So maybe this is a disadvantage of this option, depending, of course, on your use case. Option 4, so D. In this case, you no longer use the core API. You use the basic feature to encrypt your software. And you use the AX Protector modular licensing to identify the different features or functionalities, classes, DLLs, single functions, which can be assigned to the different features. And then you encrypt them individually with a different product code. This, of course, gives you the highest protection level. That's why protection level here is highest. And with the WIBU Universal Protection Interface, you define the user behavior, so what should happen if a license is not there. And here the integration effort is medium to high. And so you need to learn our WUPI interface, you need to implement the WUPI interface, you need to identify classes, methods, DLLs, which can be assigned to separate features. And if you cannot do this because, oh, this functionality is used for both for this feature and this feature, then maybe you need to restructure your software a little bit to get this highest amount of protection. Here you need a basic feature of AX Protector and a modular licensing feature. Of course, you can combine the modular licensing also with the IP protection. In this case, the software is encrypted, starts without any license, and only when some license or some additional feature is used in your software, then you use the encryption with the firm code, product code for these additional features. And depending on the amount of parts which are encrypted only with the IP protection level and the protected levels or the protected features with the firm code, product code, it is between high and highest. The software starts without the license, which is a big advantage. So especially if you have some freemium version where you say the software starts and then I will add some functionalities later. So like the in-game purchase that you can buy some very good boots in the game to fly around or to be fast or something like this. Integration effort is similar like the integration effort with D. And you need to have the AX Protector basic modular licenses and IP protection. If you ask me what is the best choice for you, I would say option D, so the fourth option, because here we have the highest protection level. Maybe I'm focused too much on protection and on the security. That's why this would be my choice. But I think all the 5 options are some relevant options, and you of course need to choose which one to go depending on your requirement for the protection level.
Yes, and some industrial customers like the option E as well, because when you have a production software or the software that runs into production, you cannot stop the production just because the license is not available or expired. So it makes sense to protect this software in the industrial field with the IP protection, where you have the cryptographic key not in an outside license, and you make the modular licensing on your own, and that is the best option for that. So let's check the use cases for the sample notepad that Rüdiger will show you in a few minutes. So we have several features. You already seen that, a basic function for that software, a change font module, a hex view module, C# syntax highlighting, and Python syntax highlighting, for example, the debugging option, and a lot of more functions that we have in mind today and in the future. And we created some packages. We call it Basic, Standard, Premium. And you see that the basic functions are in all 3 packages included, and we assigned a product code to them. We'll see what a product code means later on. This is a number here. You have the 201,000, which is assigned to that functionality. So you check it on the one side in your software, and on the other side, it's a part of the license entry that the customer gets with the licenses. And so we have different product codes for the different functionalities. Change font have a 201,001, hex view 201,002, and so on. And the change font module is also included in basic, standard, and premium, but the hex view module, for example, is only included in the premium package. The C# syntax highlighting is in the standard and the premium package. Same story for the Python syntax highlighting. And so you create your packages just by combining different functionalities and modules in these packages and assign a product code to each single functionality.
So I think it's time for a demonstration how to integrate this into our software. And of course, my preferred option is option D, so the AX protector and modular licenses. And so let's check this. My software consists of one executable, which is the sample notepad.exe. And here I have the functionalities basic and the functionalities change font. I have an additional library, the DLL, the HexView DLL. This is loaded during runtime. And here I have the HexView DLL or the HexView functionality inside. Okay, what do I need to do? First, I need to identify which functions belong to my change font. And in this case, it is very easy. It's a simple hello world sample. I have a function font view click, and here the change font functionality is executed, and change font is, let's go to the definition. Here's the change font function. So this is the function which belongs to this module, to this feature. And so I define that this has several license or different license lists. So this is the license list 1. We will see the definition of 1 later in our AX protector settings. And to make sure that the software doesn't crash when this encrypted function is executed, that's why there are some mechanisms, or it doesn't mean crash, the software stops working. And so instead of calling change font directly, I can check if the license is there. So before calling this function, I can do something like whoopee check license of license 1, and then change font is executed. And if not, I bring a message like, sorry, you don't have the license for this. Maybe something like go online and purchase the license for this feature here and there. Or another option, if you don't want to do the check license, there's a trial error method that you can put a try catch around it and say the AX protector, it should throw an exception. In this case, you need to catch the exception and bring an error message after you have catched the exception. But there's a third option. The third option is to disable or to hide the functionality at all. In this case, I put it into my software that during the startup of the software, so it's not checked periodically during runtime, only at the startup. Maybe we can improve this by also doing this during runtime every minute or something like this. And here I check if whoopee check license is 1, then font view is enabled, and if the license 2 is there, then the hex view is enabled. And this is what I need to do inside my software, and maybe I should compile my software once again. Not sure if I did this last time. And now after doing this, we can go to our AX protector. And in AX protector, we first load the file, the unprotected file. I already did this. And it tells me I will create a folder protected. And I will put the encrypted file in the folder protected. And here I can define firm code and product code.
Yes, on the left there you see the firm code. That is the unique number that contains your private key, and the product code is the number that you assign to that certain functionality. And in the next step, we see a lot of different parameters which are not interesting enough for us. There's only one option that we need because we want to use the WIBU, the API interface that allows Rüdiger to activate or deactivate such a functionality. And we have the license lists.
So, and here we define the different license lists. So we define that change font has the product code 201001 and HexView has the product code 201002. So in the software, we only reference 1 and 2. You remember, I said we check for license 1, license 2. And here we assign the product code or product codes to these functionalities. Maybe you ask yourself, why not putting the product code inside the application? And I promise you, at the end of the webinar, in my last best practice tip in the global unlock tip or trick, I will explain you why this is a good idea to have this indirect connection. And on the next slide, the AX Protector page, here you see the different feature or the different methods and classes. And here you can assign one license to either a complete class or either to a single method. In this case, I will remove the manual setting. What you also see, this is marked with an attribute, and so this is already defined with an attribute in our software, so we don't need to do this for every method or class here. We can also already implement this as an attribute in our source code. And maybe you remember this, that we saw this attribute here in the source code and saying this function should be protected with license list number 1. Okay, so everything is fine. I go to summary, and as mentioned, I click the finish button, and then my software is encrypted. And so this is the protection of the exe file. And for the dynamic link library, I did something similar. So I loaded the dynamic link library. Here I used the product code 201.002 for the complete library because it includes only the functions for HexView. And so the executable is protected or encrypted with the product code 201.000 and the link library with 201.002. And some parts of the exe file are protected with the 001. Now we have it. And now we can start our software, and we should see that we cannot start a software. So go to the protected folder. I start a software, and of course we expect to get an error message. And I think now we should go back to License Central and check how we can define licenses there and how to create licenses.
Yes, but first of all, I want to give you the idea that this graphical interface is, of course, just a thing to show it to you and to set the parameters for the first time. After that, you have a parameter set that allows you to use the command line version of the AX Protector with that parameter set, so that it is possible to use a build server for this process. So that is the second last step before you create your installer. After the build process, you use the command line thing on your build server, and there's an automatic process to encrypt it. Yes, but let's check for the license entries in, let's check for the license central here, the comparison of the realization options. So you have the flat product codes, that has the highest value of a standard of security. The same thing with the structured list, where you use the module items. You will see that in a few minutes. The updates, so it's limited, or the best practice is to use up to 2,000 of them, so enough in the general cases. The flat list is, of course, simple and independent. There is no connection between the different product codes of this feature in comparison to using the module items, where you replace the complete item when you update the features, and we will show you that later on as well. There's a group licenses in CodeMeter runtime possible with the structured list module items, but not with the flat list. You can borrow licenses with the flat list individual features. You can really choose which of these features you want to borrow for a certain period of time. In the case of module items, you have to borrow the entire license for that. And both realizations offer the individual expiration date, the pay-per-use counter, and the concurrent users. If you want to use network licenses, there is no difference at all. So it depends on your processes, what solution fits better for your use case.
So I think we go to CodeMeter License Central. I will log in, and I already prepared some items. And let's first start with the flat list. And here we see I have sample notepad basic functions, change font, hex view, syntax highlighting, and so on. And let's open one item, and I think Stefan can explain the item.
Yes, you see on the top of the page the item ID. That is the number that is the same that you have in your leading system, in your ERP system, in your CRM system. That has to fit with the one that we use here. You have a name that describes the license. And we have 3 different types of license containers that we can offer to, or you can offer to your end customers. You can offer a cloud container, you can offer a dongle, or you can even offer a CMX license for the target of the licenses. It's of course possible only to activate the license in one of these containers, but you can give the customer the choice in which kind of container he wants to activate it. And on the bottom of the page, you see again the product code that really got assigned to the basic functions. This is the 201,000 here. And we have also the other functionalities that really got defined in the license central, the 200,000, 201,001 and 2, and so on in the same manner.
Just a question for me, Stefan. When you define 3 different container types, does that mean I can activate a license 3 times?
No, you can only, as I mentioned before, you can only activate it once, but it's up to you in which kind of container you want to activate it.
And also let's check for the other features here. We have the change font module with the 201,001, the next one hex view with the 002, and so on. And so we defined all the features here. And I think let's now create a license. So creating a license means creating an order. Customer ID, what should I take now? 6,600, for instance. And in this case, I want to pick the basic functions, and I want to pick the hex view module. And Stefan, do I need to do this manually here in the interface, or can I also do this some automatically integrated?
Yes, yeah. When you use when you want to use a back office system, then you can use the web services that allows to remote control the license central, or the connectors that allow you to do that. The same thing here. So that's again the same story. If you have only a small number of licenses and you want to use the graphical interface of the license central, you are free to do that. But if you have a high amount, if you want to highly automate that process, then you use the web services of the license central, all the connectors for that. But it leads to the same result. At the end, you have such a ticket ID, an activation code. Now we can show how the customer sees that, and he enters the activation code. And then we have the licenses that you are allowed to activate. And when Rüdiger starts that, again, here's the choice. We choose the CMX license. And then we want to activate this CMX license on the local PC of Rüdiger, and that is the ping pong game. We create a fingerprint on the local system. The fingerprint and the ticket is sent to the license central, and the license central sends back an update file, a secure update file that is automatically transferred into the CodeMeter license server. And here you see we have both functionalities now in our local license container with a unique serial number. And that means now you can use, or the end user can use these licenses on premise without any need of a permanent connection to the license server. Only in the moment when you want to update licenses, when you want to add licenses or even withdraw licenses, then another connection is needed to the license center, but only in this case. So now we see here the proof of everything. Rüdiger can use the sample notepad with the basic functionality. He enters text, and he is allowed to see the enter text in hexadecimal. So these 2 functionalities are now enabled on his system. And you can also show that the font module is not available because the license is still missing.
Yeah, and what should we do if I want to have this additional license? So I will call you as a software developer, and you will create a new license. So what do we do?
yeah, we start the process again. Rüdiger opens the License Central again and creates a new order using the same customer ID or another one. That depends. This customer ID is transparent for us. It's just a number that reflects the information of the activation, and on the other side you have your ERP system with the same customer ID, so you can bring these two information sets together. But for us, it's a transparent value. You can also enter Mickey Mouse if you want. We do not have any customer information other than a transparent customer ID, which can also be a pseudonym if you want. And now we add the font module. You have another ticket ID, and we have the same process as well. So we enter the ticket ID, and the story begins from scratch. Again, the CMX license. There is already a license container available with the other two licenses, so we add now the change font license as well. And we have the ping pong game again. And at the end, we also send a receipt so that the License Central knows about the status of this activation process. So the License Central knows everything about the licenses in the field if the receipt is sent. And now,
and due to the fact that I implemented the check only at the startup, we activate the license, but we need to restart the software before we can press the change font button. Hello again. Hello again. And now we can change the font.
wonderful.
Wonderful. A disadvantage of this is that the customer now has two different tickets. And so the customer, if you want to rehost, or you lose the license, or you lose the computer, then you need to enter both tickets to get the same thing on the same computer, on a new computer. And for this, there was a webinar a couple of weeks ago where we offered our license portal, and with the license portal, the user can create his own account. And I will log in. And then the user can go to tickets and add all the tickets to his account. So here I have this ticket. And maybe we need to find the first ticket. We have it here. So this was the first ticket that I got as user. And when I enter both tickets in the license portal and go to licenses, then I see that all the three licenses are here, and all of them are on the same container at my computer, lab-RK12. And this is how we can implement this, or help the user, that the user doesn't need to remember all his tickets. Let's go back to our presentation, and there's a short summary about what we did with the flat list.
Yes, so every feature is associated with its own CodeMeter, with its own item in the CodeMeter License Central. That's what we have seen before. There's an item ID that is directly related to that function. You can sell the features separately, like we have shown that first the hex view module and later on the font module. So you are free to do that in several steps. You can create one ticket with multiple features, or you have the choice to send the customer multiple tickets with multiple features. It depends on the company size. Sometimes they want to have several tickets to activate the license on different systems. So it makes sense to have separate tickets for separate people. It's often used when the current license or the customer is not known, because you have seen who has the ticket is allowed to activate these licenses. So even during the upsell process, like we have done that with the font module, there is no need to know the customer. There is no need to know the current licenses. It's a simple way to integrate that in an e-commerce solution. And what we have shown before is that you can create packages of the basic package, the premium package, for example, and you can sell these packages, which is nothing else than the different items just bundled in such a package.
Yeah, and now let's do the same thing with the structured list. That's why I will remove all my licenses here, remove license, so that we can do the same. And going back to License Central. And I also prepared some items here. We go to the second page. And what we see here, I created a modular license parent, a module item parent, and I created a module item child for every single module. So for the change font module, we only need to define the product code here, so it's an easier definition. And the product code for the hex view module, the O2. And here in the module licenses, in the parent, I define the module or the product code for the initial or for the basic features. And I defined all the module items. And in this case, I say they are deselectable, so they are chosen, and I can remove them during the order. So now I create an order, customer number 6661, for instance, and I pick this sample notepad modular licenses. And as mentioned, I can here check which features I want to activate. So let's only sell the font module now and not the hex view module, and OK, and OK, and once again OK. So we got a ticket. Now we go to the portal, and now we start once again with logout and the ticket. OK and OK. We activate the license. So nothing new. And OK. And then we see that we have now the license in a new container. Creating receipt, that's fine. Okay, I will start the web admin once again with the new container. And now we see we have a structured list. So this sample notepad is the parent item, and the change font module is the activated feature. And let's now start our software again. Let's simply type some text. And as mentioned, hex view is not available because we didn't sell this, but we can make it big. We can change the font to bold and to some nicer font, elephant, for instance, and make it bigger. And then we have the option to use the tool in this way. From this point of view, it was nearly the same. So the creation of the ticket was similar to the creation of the ticket with the flat list, but a major difference is the update. And if you want to update or add an additional module to the structured list, we create a new order. We need to identify the customer. It was 6661. We need to identify the license that we created for them. Okay, in this case, we have only one ticket. Then we pick the same sample notepad once again. We say this should replace the old license. So we pick the old license, which should be removed. And then we can define which features do we want to add here. And in this case, we can change everything. So we can add features, but we can also remove features. And you know, or you remember, we have the change font was activated, but in this case, I want to remove the change font and I want to give him the hex font and the C# syntax and the debugging. And so maybe all the developer features, and saying OK and OK. And this creates an update for this dedicated license. So it's not an update which can be applied to any license. It's only a special update to this dedicated license. It is on the same ticket, so the customer doesn't need to know the second ticket. And what you see here, we see here that there is a replacement. So the old license will be removed and the new license will be added there with the same ticket. And there is an auto update feature, and so I can click the auto update. And when I press auto update, this will be done automatically, and then the new features are distributed on the local CodeMeter container. Let's check this in a second, or maybe 2 seconds or 3 seconds. We create a receipt, and voila. You see now that hex view, the C#, Python, and debugging is activated, and the change font now is gone and no longer available. And so the big difference between the structured list and a non-structured list is the update process, either simply selling unbound updates with a flat list, and you can add them anywhere, or you need to identify the license and then you change the license. It's more like a change of the license than selling an additional feature. And also here we have a short summary, Stefan.
Yes. So here every feature is created as a module item child, and the products are created as a module item parent. So products here are just basic, the basic package, the premium package, and something like that. The children are often added as opt-in or opt-out to the parents. That's what you have seen a second before, where you can really choose, this is an additional feature, I want to take that feature away from the customer. So it's an opt-in or opt-out option for you. During creation of the licenses, the desired children features are selected automatically. So everything is activated in one piece. The user receives one license, which includes all the desired features. And during the upselling process, the old license is really replaced, like Rüdiger explained that, with the new license. So it's not something that manipulates the existing license. It's really a replacing of an existing license by a new license. Customer and license needs to be selected, needs to be known upfront. And the new license can include more or fewer features than what we have shown before. Now we have some best practice tips where you promised something, Rüdiger.
Yes, but before we come to this best practice tip, let's speak about feature on demand and subscription. Does this work together? And a little bit. Usually for features on demand, you have often many features, like 100 different features that you want to select and sell. For subscriptions, you typically offer complete packages, and the best practice is either to include all your products, so the sample company, all package, or to have 2 to 3 packages, maybe basic, standard, and premium, and to sell these packages. And subscriptions for single features are very unusual. To be more accurate, I never seen subscriptions for single features either in the market nor at our customers. And the reason for this is that the handling and billing process for this is too complex. By the way, technically CodeMeter could offer this, but the best practice is to offer feature on demand with subscription to create a few packages and to offer subscription for these few packages. And if you want to upgrade a package, then cancel the old package and give the user the new package. So like doing this with the structured list. And I prepared a small sample for this here. And in this case, just take a look at the configuration. And here I have the subscription basic, subscription standard, and premium. And in the premium edition, all of the features are included. They are necessarily included, so they cannot be deselected. And this is the standard, same entry that we have for the non-subscription version, for the perpetual version, with the only addition that we have the expiration time that we have showed in the subscription webinar a couple of months ago. And of course, in the standard, not every feature is included here, only the change font, C#, and the Python highlighting. I will close the application because for the next demo it needs to be closed. And let's go to the last but not least best practice tip, the global unlock. There are few use cases where you need a license which activates all features. Also, all features which will come in the future. And here, the best practice approach is to say we have one product code which unlocks them all. And usually this is used for internal licenses. And in this case, all the features are unlocked. And in the integration, you need to do something in the license list of the AX protector. And you remember, I told you this indirect imaging of the licenses had some good reason. And so let's go to the AX protector. And if we want to add some global unlock, we go to the licensing systems. We click on add. And I define that my global unlock is the 999. Okay, and so I added the unlock code 201.999. And this means the software either starts with 201.000 or 999. And also for all additional features, I will add this unlock code 201.999. And okay, and also for the hex, edit and add, and here the same code 201.999. So, and now I need to re-encrypt my software, next and finish. So, and now I have a software where all features are activated with the code 201.999. And this is a nice feature for having such generic licenses to unlock everything. By the way, we use the Cloud Firm Security Box to do the encryption. And Stefan, maybe you want to tell more about the Cloud Firm Security Box.
Yes, sure. If you want to be able to encrypt the software, or you want to be able to create licenses in the name of your company, you have typically a hardware crypto module that we offer with our dongles. But since a longer time, we now have a cloud-based firm security box that allows you to do all these things just with a connection to our cloud services without any additional hardware, which is the same security level that you can reach with that, but without any hardware, which could be a problem if you want to have the license central in a data center and there is no opportunity to attach a dongle to that. So that leads me to the part of the questions.
Yeah, and I saw one question was regarding the IP protection. How can I implement the IP protection feature? And here we simply go to our AX protector, where it is, AX protector. And you remember that here we said during the first step which license we want to use. I delete the second global unlock option. And here, instead of choosing CodeMeter, I can say I want to choose IP protection. And that's it. And this means now our software will be encrypted. The additional functions or additional features will still have the same encryption here. And when I go to summary, security options, something, traps. Yes, the traps cannot be activated with this. I clicked the buttons in the wrong combination. I need to deactivate the trap generation. I need to activate the IP protection here. Summary and finish. So and now we have a software which starts without any license, but inside the code, the change font code and the hex view code is still encrypted, is still protected. Everything is encrypted, but I can only start the change font when I have the fitting license, and I can only start hex view when I have the fitting license, but I can start the software without any license. So I will show you this. I remove the license here. And we go to the software, and now the software starts without any license. But of course, I have no license, so I cannot click the two buttons. And I hope this explains the question about the IP protection.
Yes, there's another question that comes in. Rüdiger, you showed everything on a Windows operating system. Is it also possible to use it on other operating systems as well?
Why not? So yes, so AX Protector is available for Mac, Windows, Linux executables written in C, C++, or other native languages. It's available for .NET software, so which is available for Windows, Mac, Linux, of course. It's available for Java software. It's available for Python scripts, for JavaScript script, and so it's available for a wide range of software development environments and target platforms.
Great. So thank you very much. It's 8 o'clock. We are perfectly in time. I want to thank you for your time. Please check for new webinars in the future. Check for the webinars we already done in the past. Thank you very much again for your time, and I say goodbye wherever you are in the world.
Bye-bye. Have a nice day. Have a nice evening. Ciao.